The Rings of Power, Episode 3, brought many new things to the table. Let's dive in. In my last review, I commented on why Galadriel's voyage to Valinor was against Tolkien's canon, and, on top of that, why it made no sense for her to jump overboard thousands of miles away from Middle-earth's coast. But in this episode, they came up with a solution that improves this, to a lesser extent. If someone was going to save Galadriel from the waves, the best option was for it to be a Númenorian ship, since they were the only men to sail that far from Middle-earth. This brings more issues though, since Galadriel never visited Númenor. But at least, it's better than Galadriel simply swimming back to Lindon. Still, nothing explains what was Halbrand's ship doing that far away, but maybe the answer will be given later, so I'll reserve my opinion until then. Next, the plot takes us to the island kingdom of Númenor, and what can I say, everything about it looked awesome. The landscapes, the architecture, the statues, the ships. The Númenorians themselves though, look nothing alike Tolkien's descriptions. I won't lie, this was disappointing for me, since the Númenorians are my favorite race in Tolkien's works, but do you know which other descendant of these people didn't look properly Númenorian? Indeed, Aragorn from Peter Jackson's movies, and Viggo Mortensen kicked ass in that role anyway. Plus, he lived all his childhood in Argentina, so extra points. Lástima que sea hincha de San Lorenzo. So, looks shouldn't be that catastrophic for the show. They seem to have put a great emphasis on the sun as a symbol for Númenor, present on their banners, ships and armors. I'll take it as a good choice. Tolkien never mentioned what was Númenor's heraldry, or if they had a major emblem, other than Elendil's personal banner. But he did establish that, on the island, they worshipped the sky, as seen on their sacred mountain called Meneltarma, meaning the pillar of the sky, which held their main temple complex, and on their capital city called Armenelos, the royal fortress of the sky. But not only the sky alone was venerated, but also all the celestial bodies associated with it, mainly the sun and the moon, as seen on the names of important characters such as Elendil's sons, Anarion, meaning son of the sun, and Isildur, servant of the moon. By the time of Elendil, the Númenorians had given their backs to the elves and were proud about their status as kings of all men, and, as we know by Tolkien, the first men of Middle-earth awakened when the sun rose for the first time, so it might be a way to show how by the reign of Tar Miriel, Númenorians took the symbol of the sun as a representative of mortal men, and their rightful place as the highest among humans. As for the characters, I can say that Elendil was not that badly represented. It was a nice touch to show him speaking Quenya briefly, to show that he's one of the few Númenorians still faithful to the old traditions. Isildur is, as of yet, a blank page. They didn't show too much of him, but it seems he's roughly what he should be. I was surprised to the good that they mentioned Anarion at all, Elendil's youngest son, since he was completely absent in Jackson's movies, but it remains still pending the matter of why he's not present yet. It was also a surprise, but a negative in this case, to see they added a daughter to Elendil. I cannot fathom why they chose to create this character out of nowhere, and what could she add to the story, but at least she's the only one so far that looks nearly like a proper Númenorian. I'm afraid I still don't care very much about Arondir's arc, since I can't yet see what they are aiming for with it. It seems to be showing how Sauron began to gather the orcs under his rule, but so far it's not confirmed. This new character introduced at the end of the episode, called Adar, could be Sauron himself, but it could also be a red herring. Meanwhile, all I can say is that they built tension properly. You can feel the tension rise up, even as the orcs just hand over a sack of water to the elves. At least it feels like the plot is going forward, and a little action comes in handy too. You can tell the work was CGI, but it was kind of nicely done, so thumbs up on that. On the other hand, the Hobbit's plot felt quite the opposite. I am a little more invested in it, since I would like to see how the ancestors of the halflings evolved from their more primitive ways before they became the settled people of the Shire. But, unlike Arondir's story, this one didn't quite advance much, and it's on the edge of becoming boring, given that we're almost to the middle of the season. I think they need to quicken the pace, but at least they have given us another clue to Meteor Man's identity, which I think it is the final piece to the puzzle. Let's see. Since he first showed up, the wildest theories began to appear everywhere, from Sauron himself to a Balrog or even Tom Bombadil. But by far, the most popular theories and the most likely are those involving the Istari, the wizards. Most people seem to favor Saruman or Gandalf or even Radagast, mainly because of how this guy looks. Another possibility are the blue wizards, Alatar and Palando, the least known of the Istari. I immediately discarded all of these options, since Tolkien wrote that the wizards came to Middle-earth by the year 1000 of the Third Age, thousands of years after this series period. But upon revising Tolkien's later writings, I found a very compelling passage on the peoples of Middle-earth, one of the volumes in which Christopher, Tolkien's son, analyzes his father's unpublished manuscripts. Later in life, Tolkien decided that not all 5 wizards came to Middle-earth on the Third Age, but rather the Blue Wizards came much earlier, around the year 1600 of the Second Age, just before war broke out between Sauron and Gil-galad. Moreover, Tolkien's passage talks about their mission. Quote, "Their task was to circumvent Sauron, to bring help to the few tribes of men that had rebelled from Melkor worship, to stir up rebellion, and after his first fall to search out his hiding, in which they failed, and to cause dissension and disarray among the Dark East. They must have had very great influence on the history of the Second Age and Third Age in weakening and disarraying the forces of East, who would both in the Second Age and Third Age otherwise have outnumbered the West." In one of his letters, Tolkien says, "I really do not know anything clearly about the other 2 wizards, since they do not concern the history of the Northwest. I think they went as emissaries to distant regions, east and south, far out Númenorian range, missionaries to enemy-occupied lands, as it were." So, what can we learn about this? Alatar and Palando came at the exact time period that the series is portraying, and with the specific purpose of hindering Sauron's advance in the regions of the east and south of Middle-earth. The fact that they went south is of particular importance if we take into account the fact that Meteor Man is searching for strange stars. In Lord of the Rings, we are told Aragorn traveled to the south, where the stars are strange, and it makes sense since he probably went to the southern hemisphere, where you can find different constellations. I think that does it. We don't have confirmation yet, and I could be wrong, but I think the evidence and Tolkien's own writings support the theory of Meteor Man being one of the Blue Wizards. I hope this is the case, because it would be the one thing I can think about that doesn't break canon. Well, the fact that he fell from the sky does, since all wizards came by ship, but out of all things that could have come this way, I would rather go with one of the Blue Wizards. If I had to choose, I would say Alatar, since he was the first to come, but time will tell. What do you think? Feel free to leave it in the comment section. If you like this content, please like and subscribe, and I hope to see you next week for the next episode.